What's going down, everybody? It's your boy, that guy, my high, tuning back in for another reaction. This time we got what they captured in a swamp shocked the whole world. So let's just jump into this, man, without further ado, because I'm sure they probably found some old weird mutated Chernobyl ass, three-eye fish and shit up in his motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Three-tailed alligators and crocodiles and shit. I don't know. Just throwing shit out there. Double-headed ones or something. I don't know. But anyways, let's do this, man. Do what you got to do to go up, and let's go.
Swamps aren't just full of mosquitoes and pond scum. These wetlands are among the most valuable ecosystems on Earth. They act like giant sponges.
This is a mussooon. It may look like a true eel, but it is in fact another elongated fish.
When heavy rains cause flooding, swamps absorb excess water, moderating the effects of flooding. They also protect coastal areas from storm surges that can wash away fragile coastlines. And as you're about to see, there's more to these wetlands than meets the eye. No, seriously, just wait till you see what else might be waiting there for you. 15 shocking things recently discovered in swamps.
No goddamn swamps. I wouldn't be exploring those swamps. It would be kind of cool to go alligator hunting, though.
Feeding frenzy. Did you get an invite to the alligator party? Because we didn't. This fisherman's biggest catch when he went fishing at a swamp in southeast Georgia was this video footage. The alligators are jammed in a canal perhaps 30 feet wide. Alligator heads bob on the surface while others, in the background, gyrate and thrash in the water as they snap at mudfish, also known as bowfin. With a high population of mudfish, you can almost smell them, said the fisherman. These rare cooperative feedings happen once every 3 or 4 years. These cold-blooded reptiles usually grow from 6 to 11 feet long and live mainly in wetland areas.
Crazy as shit to see, like,
today, they're off the endangered list and thrive in swamps, lakes, and even on golf courses. These mostly meat-eating reptiles fascinate many people with their strength, speed, and ferocity. But there's even more to alligators than meets the eye. From glow-in-the-dark eyes to amazingly loud roars, imagine being surrounded on all sides like this brave fisherman.
I can't imagine it. That's what I'm saying.
I ain't never seen alligators in my life.
He headed out in the early morning light with another boat close behind. Moments later, they realized they had about 150 alligators in front of them and 150 behind them. The teeming alligators were hunting together. Now, let's get ready for today's discussion.
Didn't I just say that? Like, what if they started working together to get you? Hey, bro. You know there's a little bit of, a little extra meat for, a bunch of us if we flip these goddamn boats, player. You know what I'm saying? Let's work together. Let's work together, knock these bitches out. Let's do this. Like, that's a scary thought to think that they about to work together to get you, bro.
Could our eyes be deceiving us? But it looks like some sort of hairy swamp mermaid is lurking in this image, poised and waiting by the edge of the water.
Is it a monkey?
According to mer people enthusiasts,
like
mermaids don't just live in oceans and reefs, but can be found by waterfalls, rivers, swamps, and even fountains, depending on the species of merfolk. Some tales depict these swamp merfolk as more animalistic in nature, while others show them as civilized as their human counterparts. It's widely believed that living in the swamp's volatile ecosystem makes them wild and harder to tame. Sometimes known as freshwater mermaids or lake mermaids, they're built for camouflage and sometimes live partially on...
Oh, man, so we got, like, the grungy, emo versions of Ariel and shit up in this bitch, bro. Like, what the fuck? Look, okay, I still haven't grasped and wrapped my head around the idea of, like, the Ariel-style mermaids out in the ocean and shit. But now you're telling me we got crocodiles and we got alligators. One is for, salt water, one's for, fresh water. And we got mermaids that's doing... Come on, bro. Fuck. Oh, bro. Okay, let's go.
We can totally see how this creature could camouflage easily. So what do you think? Swamp mermaid or perhaps something completely different?
I was thinking
Comment below using the hashtag open discussion. You want to know a little secret? If you smash the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell, you'll have superpowers for the rest of your life. So what are you waiting for? Time to fly.
It's free to
Number 14,
hit that subscribe
python
button.
Bounty hunters. Native to Southeast Asia, the Burmese python is one of the largest snakes in the world and is considered an invasive species. It began appearing in the Florida Everglades more than 20 years ago when the reptiles were imported as pets. The snakes feed on animals like birds and rabbits and take away those food sources from native wildlife like panthers, bobcats, and alligators. The apex predator's insatiable appetite has resulted in a severe decline in mammal populations in the Everglades, including endangered species. So Florida doubled its ranks of python hunters recently as the state steps up efforts to tame the invasive species that has long devastated the balance of the natural food chain in the Everglades. More than 1,000 aspiring hunters hoping to get the chance to remove the invasive serpent from the Everglades applied to the 25 new openings. The hunters are part of the state's python elimination program that so far removed more than 2,500 Burmese pythons since it began in 2017. They're awarded bounties based on the length of the pythons. An extra $50 is given for each python measuring up to 4 feet, plus $25 for each additional foot. Hunters can further collect a $200 bonus for each python found guarding a nest of eggs. Number 13.
You go out there, catch you a couple of them things,
Sinking
man. You done
Island.
made enough money.
In the past 6
You go out there, catch like 3-4 good sized pythons, bro. You done made more money than most people going to working a 9 to 5. It would just depend on how long it took you to get those, 3 or 4 snakes of sizable. They need to be sizable. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like that's not a bad little gig, bro. Like if you that nigga, like you could go out there and make a pretty decent living off that shit for real.
decades. This island has lost 98% of its land due to sea level rise and constant coastal erosion, with a 5 by 11 mile island shrinking to a mere quarter mile by 2 miles. The Isle of John Charles, off the coast of Louisiana, is literally sinking into the ocean. Many factors led to the destruction of the island. Dams and levees were created throughout the Mississippi River, which disrupted the sediment flow that naturally prevented mass erosion. The nearby oil industry created more deltas and channels within the Louisiana wetlands, with the drilling hurting plant structures that previously provided more natural barriers to erosion. Coupled with rising sea levels from global climate change, the island effectively sank. There's one road into the island that floods at least once a week so that no cars can pass.
What?
This leaves the people of the Isle with a difficult question: to leave their homes and livelihoods behind, or to stay in hopes for a different fix. The community here was meant to move to a new location together to preserve
Bruh, I'm not staying in a goddamn place that once a week you got to worry about not being able to leave your house and your car flooding, your house falling into the goddamn, like, get the fuck out of here. I need to go ahead and pick up and leave.
But many are moving on their own as others refuse to set off from their land and culture. To make matters worse, the sea levels are continuing to rise and the island faced consequences from Hurricane Laura in 2020. Number 12.
That's crazy.
Ancient roads to nowhere.
I couldn't live nowhere where there's like a consistent danger of natural disaster. You know what I'm saying? Like out here in Colorado, the worst we got to really worry about is like tornadoes, and that's basically really it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's very few areas that are built in like, bad sections where it like floods and stuff. There's a couple places, couple of neighborhoods that just kind of have like that natural bowling effect or whatever. So if it does rain enough, it will flood, but nothing to like the extent that we were seeing with that other little spot. And yeah, like I'm not staying nowhere where the hurricanes or earthquakes or none of that shit is like a constant like worry. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to be reminded that at any moment I could go. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I don't need that reminder shit.
These ancient roads that lead into Central Ireland's peat bogs are very impressive, but totally mystifying. For one thing, some of them just end in the middle of nowhere. Several finds have been made in the bogs in recent years, including leather shoes, axe heads, and bog butter, which some experts believe may have been buried as a means of preservation. But that's not the only thing that's been discovered. Human remains found in the Irish bog could be up to 3,000 years old, according to archaeologists. The body, thought to be that of a woman, was discovered by the driver of a turf milling machine in the bog. Parts of the body, including the head and torso, which had been enclosed in a leather bag, didn't survive, but the legs had been preserved by the chemicals in the peat. Experts believe the prehistoric find may have been the victim of a ritual sacrifice. An expert has stated that the latest bog body found in Ireland has proven the belief that the Celts ritually sacrificed their kings to the gods. The body also proves they underwent horrible deaths if the times turned bad enough under their reign. The latest Iron Age bog body was discovered by an alert bog worker, and it bears the same hallmarks of ritual torture. Number 11.
That's wild.
Secret Everglades Camp. If you head out to the
What?
swamps of the Florida Everglades on an airboat, you can tour one of the few camps secluded deep in the swamp. This camp sits on stilts in the middle of the gator-inhabited fresh water of South Florida. This camp has its very own helicopter pad. Talk about a lavish life off the grid. In fact, there are as many as 6 incredible isolated houses on stilts in the Florida Everglades, mostly accessible by airboats. These weekend homes are surrounded by tall sawgrass and water. America's Everglades is a subtropical wetland ecosystem spanning 1.5 million acres across South Florida. Known as a biodiversity hotspot, the Everglades is filled with an abundance of wildlife and is surrounded by numerous human communities, including the cities of Miami and Fort Lauderdale. The Everglades is a unique landscape unlike any other in the world. Only the Everglades combine a subtropical climate, numerous distinct habitat types, and an extraordinary array of species in such a diverse yet vulnerable ecosystem. Only 200 years ago, this river of grass slowly flowed across nearly 1/3 of Florida. The Everglades historically covered approximately 3 million acres. So imagine yourself getting in a helicopter and planning yourself here for a relaxing stay, right in the middle of a massive swamp. Number 10, Lizard Man. The Lizard Man is South Carolina's very own homegrown.
You know they ain't got no goddamn like plumbing and shit. So like there's no running water, I bet you. So that means like you shitting in buckets. You know what I'm saying? Like what kind of like bro, that doesn't sound like no goddamn luxury. Like oh my gosh, you're in a getaway. Like that just doesn't sound like what that is, bro. I'm sorry, that just doesn't.
And
sound
its
like
origin
that,
story
bro.
is like something out of a movie. In the wee dark hours of the morning in June 1988, a teenage boy was driving home from work when he blew a tire along the edge of Orr Swamp. He got out of the car to change the tire when he heard a sound, like someone running, getting louder and louder. Suddenly, from the darkness, it emerged. Blazing red eyes, green scaly skin, long black claws on its 3 fingers, a staggering 7 feet tall. What else could it be but a lizard man? The boy jumped into his car for safety, but the lizard man attacked the car, ripping off the mirror and gouging the roof of the vehicle. Just 2 weeks later, police were called to the scene of some vandalism. A car, not too far from the swamp, had been attacked in the night. Fenders had been ripped off, the antenna bent, deep scratches along the body, and chrome trim had seemingly been chewed off. Could it be the monster again? Over the decades, there have been sightings on occasion, and a smattering of automobile maulings, always within the vicinity of the swamps around Bishopville. But nothing like that summer of 1998, when the lizard man made his presence and appetite for cars known. Number 9, swamp eel.
That's wild.
Body snake-like tapering to a point, small eyes, tiny scales, and finless, the giant mottled eel can grow to 6.5 feet long and weigh up to 45 pounds. The species can be distinguished from other anguilled eels by its mottled coloration, arrangement of teeth, and the long dorsal fin. The teeth in both jaws are arranged in 2 or 3 rows. One row consists of distinctly enlarged teeth that often form a cutting edge. The inner row comprises smaller teeth that are usually separated from the cutting row by a narrow toothless groove. Adults typically live in fresh water, but they do sometimes migrate into the open ocean. They also have a heavy mucus coating that facilitates their burrowing nature. Secretive and most active at night, but generally considered a slugfish, it's found in warm freshwater habitats, including small oceanic islands from the western Indian Ocean across the Indo-Pacific to French Polynesia, and as far north as southern Japan. They prefer shallow, sluggish, standing, or even stagnant waters and dense vegetation. That's where it often burrows in mud bottoms. They're found in ponds, canals, ditches, rice fields, and swamps, and are reported to survive in moist mud during the dry season. Number 8, swamp beast crossing. Florida panthers, alligators, bears, bobcats, deer, and coyotes cruise through wildlife crossings beneath highways as unwitting humans commute above them at 70 miles an hour. In recent years, vehicle collisions killed an average of 2 endangered Florida panthers a month. And for bears, the toll is worse. About 20 black bears die every month on roadways as they travel the state looking for food and mates. And we all see many other dead creatures, deer, squirrel,
That shit's
opossums, bobcats, birds, reptiles, and more. Along our roadsides, this hurts people too. An estimated 200 people are killed and 29,000 injured yearly in the U.S. when their cars collide with animals. The good news is that we can prevent it. We've been using technology to do it. Building safe crossings for wildlife can reduce the carnage to nearly zero. Wildlife crossings take a number of different forms: expanded culverts, special ledges built along rivers or canal banks under highway bridges, or full-blown landscaped overpasses. Wildlife crossings are a practice in habitat conservation, allowing connections or reconnections between habitats. Plus, similar structures can be used for domesticated animals such as cattle. Don't we all deserve safe passage? Swamp animals included? Number 7. Creepy canopy birds. Most of the time, these herons look like your typical wading bird. Long legs, long necks, long beaks. But when it's time to eat, this jet black African species literally throws some serious shade. These black herons are not actually serving us attitude, it's hunting for dinner. It's called canopy feeding. While fishing, the bird will tuck its head down, spread its wings around its body, and create a sunshade of sorts, creating a nice shady spot for the fish to relax in. As the fish move into the shady location, the black heron scoops down and gulps up their nice tasty meal.
That's smart.
And that's why it prefers shallow open waters, such as the edges of freshwater lakes and ponds, marshes, river edges, rice fields, and seasonally flooded grasslands. They don't mind a little sun. While some herons prefer to hunt on their own, most enjoy the company of others while they dine. On average, they'll hunt in groups of 50 individuals. However, the largest flock of black heron on record is 200. It lives throughout sub-Saharan Africa, from Senegal and Sudan to South Africa. But it's found mainly in the eastern half of the continent and in Madagascar. It's also been observed in Greece and Italy. Number 6.
That's a cool-ass little bird. It just has
Bog
like a cool
jogging.
little...
Meet your new favorite sport. Bog is a blanket term that's often applied to any wetland or marginal environment, resulting in a great deal of confusion as to what exactly a bog is. Is it a wetland? Is it a pond or a lake? And what are bog plants? Are they just plants that grow in wet environments? The answer is yes, a bog is a type of wetland, but it's not any wetland, nor is it simply the edge of any water body. And bog plants are those that are found specifically in
that
bogs,
shit would be low-key
suited
cool, but I'm like, what's
particularly to
the
the parameters created by these environments. More specifically, a bog is a type of freshwater environment with nutrient-poor, non-draining soils. And as you can see, they're the perfect place to get in the steps for bog jogging. Their soils are usually peaty and spongy, and the water is obtained purely from precipitation rather than fed by groundwater or other water sources. Bogs are formed in existing depressions created by glacial treatment, outwashes, kettle and pothole depressions, and glacial lake beds. These areas naturally have acidic, low-nutrient conditions, and over time, as they fill with plant matter, rainwater, and snowmelt, it creates a thick, peaty bottom that gives rise to the very well-adapted plants and organisms. And it's the perfect place to get your heart rate up and have some fun. Number 5. Toxic tar lakes.
Shit, bro.
Dozens of secret toxic
I'd
pits near homes across the United Kingdom are being ignored by the government. An investigation found there are 34 acid tar lagoons officially recorded by councils across the UK, but the government has a record of only 2 in England. These acid tar lagoons are extremely hazardous. Corrosive swamps made up of unmanaged dump mess from oil refineries largely in the 1960s and 70s. Abandoned quarries across the country were allowed to be filled up with thousands of tons of poisonous gunge, and their impact today is detrimental to the environment, and in some instances, public health. One of the more famous tar lakes, the pit at Hoole Bank, contains 60,000 tons of toxic waste and has been set bubbling away for decades. It's a toxic waste dump. It's absolutely vile to be around. There's nothing living here. Anything that's close to being alive is covered in oil and tar, and it's just generally disgusting place to be. Incredibly, the Hoole Bank pit is less than 100 yards away from homes. Residents nearby are concerned and worried about the impact of these dormant sites. Having poisoned the environment for decades, cleaning them up will now cost millions. Number 4. Haunted Mansion. Known simply as the house in the Loire, this three-story building in France looks like the victim of a flood that once swept it away.
who's trying to
But
go in
sometimes
that?
appearances can be deceiving. If you walk along the River Loire, you'll find this tilted building located right in the middle of the river. Believe it or not, it was actually placed there deliberately by a company that specializes in salvaging wrecks at the request of a French artist, and it was created as part of an estuary art exhibition, which invited a number of international artists to create large-scale works inspired by the Loire and its nearby estuary. Interestingly, the abandoned house is actually a replica of a former inn. The artist produced an almost identical replica out of cast concrete and had it placed on the right bank of the Loire. But strong currents and high tides caused it to capsize, and so the building was moved to a new location, near the left bank. Although the house looks strange during the day, at night it becomes downright creepy.
Was it like
The
lights
thing that
turn
really
on and
freaks
shit?
people out is the light that turns on in one
Bruh,
of the
how did
rooms.
I know it? How did I call it? Let's watch. There's gonna be some weird shit like lights turning on in this fucking house, and it's in the middle of the goddamn river, and there's no power or electricity even probably in the vicinity of this damn house. It's never been attached to no goddamn electricity. I doubt it's even wired to have electricity. Come on,
Isn't
bro.
really something you'd expect to see in an abandoned house in the middle of a river.
Right.
And today, the house in Loire is one of the highlights of river cruises on the Loire. Number
That's
3,
wild. It'd be cool to see.
Chimpanzee
but I ain't
Testing
going in.
Island. It's a story that seems straight out of a movie. Liberia, a remote West African country, has a secret place called Monkey Island. Too dangerous for people to set foot on, it's fiercely protected by dozens of infected chimpanzees released from a controversial U.S. virus testing laboratory. The rumors about the chimpanzees are
Why was that
mind-blowing.
chimpanzee's
First of
ass
all,
all
the chimps are claimed to have
inflamed and
survived
shit, though.
decades of
Y'all see
abuse,
that shit?
involving deliberate
Look.
exposure to invasive hepatitis B, river blindness, and blood cleansing experiments. They were captured from the wild back in the 1970s in a shady deal with local poachers who sold the baby chimps to the American Research Facility. The jungle wilderness is now home to more than 60 chimps who are notoriously protective of its shores. Many of the animals are said to be territorial, and those living nearby are terrified to go there for fear of being attacked. Only a select few locals dare approach the real-life planet of the apes, and even then, most never get out of their boats. Tourists who have paid local
That's
fishermen
crazy.
to take them to the island are pelted with mangoes by the chimps. To some, the apes even have a
At least it ain't
monster-like
shit.
reputation and have sparked bizarre rumors they will attack and even eat those who set foot on the land. Number 2, swamp gas motorcycle.
That's
A
wild.
man in the Netherlands has designed a motorcycle
Swamp
that runs
gas?
on methane freshly harvested from roadside bogs. It's called the Sloot motor. Sloot
Fucking
meaning
running-
ditch in
riding
Dutch.
a fart
And it's
bike?
the invention of an engineer and artist who designed the bike because he wants to live in a more sustainable world. He got the idea while reading about a fisherman who used methane collected while out fishing to fry eggs. The Sloot motor uses a converted motorcycle engine. He drilled a hole into the airbox of the engine where it received the methane. Then he hooks a balloon to the hole which fuels the engine. The engine still starts with gas, but once it's going, it can use the collected methane to keep going. Basically, an upturned container floats on the surface of a bog collecting methane, which is naturally producing during organic decomposition. Once the
wild.
methane
That's
is
cool, though.
collected, the designer pumps the methane out of the pumping station using a bicycle pump. The methane sits in a balloon attached to the back of the motorcycle. The storing of methane is a slow process, up to 8 hours, and sped up by manually hoeing the bog. But it's enough methane to take you just over 12 miles.
That's wild.
Number 1, Mysterious Castle. Off the beaten path in the southwest corner of Hardy
Weird.
County, you'll find
Art
one man's
project
vision
or
of a
some
castle
shit.
in the middle of the Florida swamps. In 1970, a man purchased 90 acres of swampland and began transforming it into a real kingdom by his family. Solomon's Castle.
Yeah, see,
He
that
was
like
known
a
as
weird
the
one them
Rembrandt
art
of
project
reclamation,
situations.
the Da Vinci of debris, the Wizard of odds and ends, and the Savior of salvage. He would add a tower here and a turret there, and next thing you know, he's got a castle. Every man's home is his castle, and for this man, it was really true. He literally built the castle in the middle of nowhere. The first floor contains his galleries and artwork. The pieces are all made
Cool,
from
though.
recycled materials.
Shit, that's super dope.
Solomon covered his castle in offset aluminum printing plates that he got from a local newspaper. That's what gives his castle the shine that continues to attract people. There were additions along the way, the boat and the moat restaurant, and a lighthouse for extra seating. But the mysterious castle draws visitors each year. Before he died, the king of this castle built a 10-foot-long turn-of-the-century locomotive that sits as a reminder of his creativity. One of the best parts that he left behind is his heart and soul for the Solomon Fortress, and it can still be felt today through his family.
That shit's cool.
We imagine you'll never look at a swamp the same way again after watching videos like
That
these.
was the coolest one.
Who knew
honestly.
they were
The rest of
more
them
than
was
just
like
smelly,
weird
stagnant
and
water
just
full
like,
of
what?
frogs and attracting
But that was
bugs?
probably a cool.
But
that was
before
cool
you get too
one. I
close,
still think
remember
the
what
craziest
you
one,
learned
though, was
about them.
goddamn, all
There's
them
more
alligators.
than meets
All them alligators in one spot, 150 in front and behind you. Like, that would be nuts, bro. I would be shitting myself. I ain't gonna lie, I'd be shitting myself. But y'all let me know what y'all's favorite clip was out of that one, man. That was a little bit of a longer one, so I hope y'all appreciate that shit. Hope you know what I'm saying, you stayed till the end. You did what I'm saying, and all those who did, I appreciate you. Shout out to you, you know what I'm saying? You a player, you know what I'm saying? You was a player, you was a player, you was a player. Anyways, I love y'all. There is no me without you, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.